Ravnica is a very deep world, with a lot of aspects. Just before the events of the War of the Spark, we got glimpses of the world preparing for a war. But this would never go in an orderly fashion. The guilds of Ravnica were not all opposed to Bolas. The Azorius, Gruul, Orzhov, Izzet and Golgari all even had their leaders chosen by the god dragon. But even then, the guilds themselves were not that clear either. The prequel set to the War of the Spark would show us that there are many aspects and everyone is preparing. Usually, progress is halted when a world prepares for war, but on Ravnica, no one thinks the same. The first reason why we do not see Ravnica preparing for war in any traditional way is because a lot of preparations happened underground. As stated before, the Dimir, for example, is not necessarily on the side of evil here, which I think adds to the complexion of the situation. Let us start with this hunted witness. He has seen something and David Palumbo shows us the face of someone who is not good at hiding what he had just seen. Or perhaps what he has just seen is just a little too grand. Maybe this witness knows that he is being hunted, but the two people in the fog behind him do not seem to jump into action, but more are alerted by his own mannerism. This witness is apparently a skilled smuggler, as the flavor says that he did hide weapons, spells and exotic animals in his coat too. But this truth he holds must be great. Weird to put it on a 1-1. Yes, because that makes him very easily replaceable with the new 1-1 token. I love that the clothing from this art makes this guy feel so modern, and also keeps an eye out for more fog, because it's a theme in this set. Continuing with our theme of misty art, we look at the literal Wall of Mist, which is a 0/5 wall creature made out of mist. But why does mist fit into the set so well? For one, there is a lot that we do not know of the current state of the world. There is a lot of vagueness. Secondly, while fall is going on, there is a lot of natural mist and the Dimir like this season because of it. The flavor of this 2-mana chunk says, "Fog haunts the streets, rendering the familiar as otherworldly, changing neighbors into shadows and muffling cries for help." Yes, the Dimir might not be on the side of Bolas per se, but they are still not friendly, and if you see this kind of mist in your neighborhood, you do not go wandering in there. Tianhua did a great job of showing us how sheepish these people are. They look up in hope of finding their ways while watching the high towers of this art. But every shade could be a neighbor or one of the Dimir people. Actually, you are probably one of as well. We know they are there, just not where. A part of Ravnica is preparing for a war and Dimir should be the first to notice. Yet they are reveling in this wondrous time, making deals, for example. Silent Art is another example, directly calling out the murderous ways of the House of Dimir. This is a 1-mana artifact where you can later kind of lightning strike for 3 mana. Not very efficient, but does the job crudely. The Dimir want to be silent though, and also do not really care for war too much. My takeaway from this is that you do not shake hands with someone who might have a knife in his sleeve. The coolest thing here is that the sleeve has the Dimir tentacles too, which is not very smart, but does look cool. We do stay a little bit longer with the Dimir, because they do not only attack citizens at this time of impending chaos. No, they also dazzle the hard-working soldiers. The main mechanic of the Dimir is very telling though. Surveilling the city is all they can do at this time. They do not have the military prowess to prepare for war, so they gather intelligence from both sides. The Boras soldier we see here is on the so-called good side of the war and still gets stunned for information. The Dimir prepare for war by learning how to get out of it as profitable as possible. The art by Robbie Trevino is a great one too. It must have been a challenge to draw a white and red character and make it so Dimir colored. Because yes, blue lights and blue eyes, but also a shiny armor that gives a slight blue tint. Even more impressive is the background, where the soldier looks at the light architecture, but behind him is a less remarkable dark cloud, showing that even during the day in clear light, there is still darkness behind someone's eyes to hide behind. From one relatively dark card to one that is utterly morbid. Spinal Centipede is what it says it is. It is a centipede which we already have to hate, but this one also took on this armor from the dead body of a human. Now I say that this is morbid, but like the flavor says, us humans do this all the time, and then we think it's fine. So according to that logic, this 3-2 is just normal. Also notice that this insect will give another creature strength when it dies. In this case, that's probably because the next creature will wear this one's armor. Lastly, not only is the lighting great again, Suzhou Zen also made sure to let us know that this centipede is broader than a human and way longer than that. Now imagine the cave you wandered in when you met this, entering the only light of that cave. You will not escape and this centipede could use some more armor. Also, how did it put this on? Does anybody know? One way to prepare for war is making good friends. Zorn Companions shows us 2 friends in this 3 mana white sorcery that makes 2 1/1 soldier friends. Karlov from the Orzhov complains about his soldiers by saying, "The trouble with youths these days is that, in outright defiance of their elders, they refuse to be bought." In a way, this is true for many young people, that have the safety to value other things than money. Later on, money becomes almost everything in life, but for those 2 little sprouts, life is still worth more because of their friendship. The white buildings and shiny morning sun give the 2 friends a halo of light, while the floor from Jason Rainville is so soft that we start to believe that everything is possible with friendship. In the story of War of the Spark, this is also very true. Here we see the other side of Selesnya and the Orzhov interacting. While one focuses on the economy, the other tries to grow through caring for nature. Sometimes they let nature grow to insane proportions though. The Selesnya main mechanic is Convoke, where they try to make something huge by combining forces. Selesnya wants to do everything through unity, and it sometimes makes for these worms that are made for destroying walls. It could have almost been a Gruul creature, but I personally do not think this worm wants to harm anyone. It just does not know where it is going. Let's just keep it at that. The people from the market shows us that money really is not very important. When your life's on the line, showing us the proper priorities before war. Even though money could make some order, when a siege worm does not knock on the front door, you are better off running and leaving with just your breath. So let us look at some more Celestian cards, because just like the mirror, these colors are very present too. This guild is all about holding hands in a big circle and conjuring up the most massive creatures, or enforcing peace on certain areas. This beast shows us both sides of the guild at once. It is a chunky 4/4 beast, but also a very loving one. He just loves everyone so much that his loved ones are in danger of this Ingdrick trying to sit in their laps. As we can see, this beast fights another creature when it comes in. But he does that because he is enthusiastic. Some creatures just do not mind what's going on around them. They do not ready for the future. They are just here to hug their friends and maybe knock them down a cliff. Also, thank you Steve Prescott for making this friend have so many small cat friends around him. And thank you for the cute weird tail. What a nice friend to have if you are firm on your feet. We all know these peace-loving people in our lives who stop us whenever we are going to say something bad. They want to keep the peace forever and force you to reflect on your actions. These are useful friends as they might keep you sane, but they also drive you nuts themselves. Selesnya is that friend, and this instance shows us 2 of them forcing someone else to reflect. By preventing combat damage, fog effects are, by the way, not the most loved either, but so very green-white. I love that the art from Alina Danner is just a beautiful land. Only this guild can pull that off. It's just a city with trees growing naturally between them. And it shows us the resilience of the colors, while also forcing us to look at this card a little more. before realizing that this is an instant and not a land. I love cards with double meaning. What actually is a rose main? No one really knows, but I am guessing it's a quadrant of the Celestia army. Though, this horseman says that in peaceful times, he tends to his garden. The Celestia are like that, and this is the first time we see the cards noticing that a war is coming. The Celestia would not really have guards as they believe in peace, but when it is disturbed, you are better off hiding before you get trampled. This horse does not mechanically trample and has vigilance instead, showing us that this is not an aggressive horse, but a defending centaur warrior. Nilsham also made something lovely by making these colors fade so much, you might almost not notice that this man has a horse body, and I like the ambiguity in this case. Then we see the reds of the trees of Ravnica in spring, and we get a somber feeling as this centaur is so much out of his element. Even though he looks strong, and he is strong, he is not a fighter at heart, and he would like to return to his garden whenever he can. One step of preparing for war is recognizing all the things that you will miss from home, the things you will fight for. How about the other type of person we need but hate, but love so much? Boros is the guild of being strong, honest and following the rules. But it's also the guild that would be the top 3 most excited for an all-out war, although they might not show it as much outwardly. Here we see the actual stature of the guild, with overly tall buildings reaching into the mist above. The sun makes the buildings shine as much as possible and fires are lit anyways, to show that this building is clear and honest. It's a square building, because these are the most firm shapes and the flavor has the leader saying, the more trust breaks down, the more we must throw open the front gates. Signifying that showing such an open front shows that the martial leaders of the Boros Guild are to be trusted when it's about keeping peace. While Aurelia of course secretly really likes war, she also fights for the weak, when it means she can fight the strong. Here we have 2 people that act Boros but really are not. The soldier tokens show someone trying to show off like a Boros soldier, and we might almost think they are Boros. But they wear a helmet with the tree of Celestia and have green magic flowing from their other hand. Also we look up at them, which I hope is intentional from John Severin Brazel, because a Boros soldier would be eye to eye with you. The same goes for Fearless Halberdier. This woman stands above us as well, as if she wants to intimidate us. Some Boros soldiers actually do this after Aurelia took over the leadership. She split her army into different districts that specialize in dealing with certain guilds. The problem arises when a soldier has to deal with a Gruul and Rakdos led district and starts to like the chaotic rampages. This is something we see here with this mixture of alignments, when this heavy weaponed lady says, I spent some time in the Legion, but I'm done taking orders all day. Not much of a problem though, because very soon almost everyone will be on the same side. Susanna Helmich also makes a lady that still commands respect, as if she will be giving the orders now. Oh no. Okay, but we have cities and fighters and people who deny any conflict, but do we have lightning wielding maniacs that try to further science by doing weird experiments? Yes, those are called chemistry teachers. On Ravnica, the Izzet League is rather unconventionally extreme. They use goblins to experiment on by blasting them with lightning. They think about how to destroy stuff more efficiently, and they probably would see a war as one big experiment. Radical Ideas shows us their main mechanic, which is Jumpstart. At first I felt like this mechanic was something creative, but it is not. It just says that the discarded card is used as fuel for the idea, and apparently building your invention for the second time takes more effort. Maybe this is because when you first build it, it was an experiment, but now you have to use your brain power to really think how your invention worked. That could be fun. In any case, I always thought that this woman was hanging from a rope, but she is sitting in a poor position on the ground, working on her next invention, and she is probably barely done with her idea, but overly excited to build it. She found the edge of what is impossible and is ready to jump over that edge. Twice, and apparently the second time is just as controversial. Let us look at the League's version of the Guild Mage's cycle. Here we see this beautiful mage from Svetlin Valenov standing in front of massive factory works. Here, fists, electrically powered by her backpack, which is also beaming with electricity. This is the epitome of the Izzet look. Lightning everywhere and she could blow up any second, but she still looks confident in doing so. She looks like a fashion icon, and in the way she really is. I bet all Izzet mages will want to wear something like this. The abilities say that this woman can draw a card for 4 mana, which is fine as it's repeated, and for a red and X she can copy a spell, making her work together very nicely with Ruta for one, but also being a strong addition to your baseline of spells that could possibly be copied by her, because you will have to pay a little more than double the cost. Maybe this shows us again that, like with Jumpstart, having an experiment go right is easier than replicating it the second time. In that exact same vein we have Quasi-Duplicate, which is Izzet and not Simic, but still lets you copy a creature, which is harder than you being made the first time. Not because giving birth is easy, but because I have never heard of someone being cloned successfully yet. Dmitry Burmak did the Simic a favor in this art, by making the electricity green, showing us that green-blue is still the copying, mutating color of Ravnica. But the Izzet do all sorts of experiments, and that is perhaps why this person is accidentally making a copy of himself. Again, the second try on making a copy is a little harder with Jumpstart, but for 6 mana you will have tripled your creatures, and that is great. I could imagine this coming in handy in a war against thousands of zombies. You could make an army of yourself to combat them. Then clothe yourself in Izzet's dangerous clothing and you are ready to begin your fight. The Izzet shows us that innovation is never done, even when your time limit is so constrained. You are better off letting your creativity flow than just cramping and finishing a half-done project. Although the Izzet would abandon their projects very easily and nothing stays still on Ravnica, at least not with the guilds that we have seen today. Stay chaotic and thank you for watching.